All right, welcome everyone to the full moon parasite Q&A with Sara, Pagel, and myself, Arielle Schmidt. We're really excited to be able to break down some of the frequently asked questions that we've been getting over the last few months as we've been prepping for this cleanse that we plan on doing every single month, which is really exciting. And Sara's going to tell you exactly why we need to do this frequently depending on your health situation. So Sara, I'll let you just jump right into, what are parasites and how do we kind of know that we have them?
Yeah, man. I love this topic. I'm such a nerd when it comes to that. Parasites have been such a huge part of my healing journey. A little bit of my background, I am a functional health practitioner. I started my own practice in 2021 and have been taking my knowledge of my own healing journey and walking with clients one-on-one to help them heal their container and get moving and grooving, as I like to say, in their healing journey. And so parasites were a huge part of my story. I first discovered that I had them in 2018. I had a practitioner that I was working with, and I wasn't like I was getting better. I was recovering and repairing from adrenal exhaustion and PCOS, and I just had my body was I was very sick. And so I gotten some energy back and I'd done some healing work, but I still was hitting walls. And I was like, why am I not losing this weight? Why do I still not have good energy? Why am I still burping and farting all the time? Like there's still stuff that's wrong. And I with my practitioner, he's like, all right, let's do the labs again. So we ran the labs again. Nothing was really showing up, but I had been doing research and I was like, I really think that I have parasites. I've been reading about them. I have been kind of going down the rabbit hole of it, and the symptoms really align with what's going on in my container. And he's like, okay, let's run the labs. Nothing showed up on the labs, which was like, but I really think that I have parasites. And he was like, I believe you. And that was so incredibly validating to hear. And so he was like, okay, I believe you. So let's go. It's not going to hurt you to run through a protocol, a full moon cleanse, and let's see what happens. And I kid you not, you guys, within 3 days of being on these Cellcore para products, I was pooping worms, and it was weird and it was crazy and affirming and validating and uncomfortable. And by golly, I started to feel better. Like within 3 to 5 days, I was like, oh my God, my brain fog is starting to clear and my energy is starting to come back. And it wasn't like this magic pill. Like I still have had quite a bit of a journey of mineral rebalancing and detoxing and all this stuff, because healing is a journey. But man, parasites, discovering those were really a game changer for me. And so I have really enjoyed over the last couple of years taking that knowledge and experience and translating that into something real and tangible for the community, because I believe in health, I believe in healing, and I believe that it's possible to reclaim health. And so so that's a little bit about me and my background. And so parasites, let's kind of like dive into this a little bit. So what are parasites? Parasites are really any organism that gets into another organism and feeds on that organism. So they can be microscopic little things that you can't really see in your poop, or they can be worms like I see in my poop. And I've seen both. I've had both. I've had the really tiny little ones that you can't see when you poop out, and I have worms. So just because you can't necessarily see them in your poop doesn't mean that you don't have them. Doesn't mean that your body isn't trying to expel them. But they really are these little buggers that have been around before us. They are going to be around after us. They are the quintessential survivors. And they really do. They feed on us. They feed on our container. They steal our nutrients. They feed on toxins and mold and chemicals and viruses and radiation, and that's all food for them. And the other kind of crazy thing about parasites is that they morph their DNA to look like you. And these guys are crazy awesome at surviving. And so because they morph their DNA to look like you, when we run these labs, like the GI map, which is the poo test, they don't really show up. because there's a million different kinds of parasites. So the labs look for like the common worms, like the pinworm and the tapeworm and the hookworm, but they don't necessarily, it's not possible for them to identify those sneaky bastards, as I like to call them, that have really morphed to your DNA.
Yeah. One of the fun facts about like how I integrate into this is through the Thai yoga body work. So what she's talking about, not being able to physically detect them with the lab results, right? So I have client after client, and when we're talking Thai yoga massage, we're working through like 12 major meridian lines of the body. And so each line correlates to an organ system of the body, you know, small intestine, large intestine, stomach, spleen, kidneys, bladder, yada, yada, yada. Well, sometimes, well, I shouldn't say sometimes, majority of the time, those meridian lines correspond to an emotional tie in the body. But if we've gone through the emotional struggles to figure out like why this might be coming up and the line is still created a blockage energetically, then that's when we go into maybe there's something actually physically wrong with the organ system. And so like the small intestine, a lot of times for people that means burnout, but that can also result in low energy, which is one of the symptoms of having parasites. And so if the small intestine line is physically blocked, not the organ system, but the energy line, you know, emotionally, if we've created better boundaries and better, you know, schedules for ourselves, and like there's no possible way we should still be burned out, but yet we still can't pull ourselves out of bed in the morning, probably a parasite. Same with, you know, some of the stomach issues that I feel, you know, like we do digestive work over and over and over, and yet things are still coming up. We've done the emotional work that should no longer be holding in those spots. And yet every session, you know, there's a blockage in the physical stomach and I can't get it to ever dissipate. You know, it's really cool to have the Eastern side of confirmation, which is what Sara was like, I have parasites, but no one can confirm I have parasites. But we could physically see that before. I think you joined my practice or the Thai practice roughly around the time you were figuring out the parasite thing. And it was really interesting to see, like, I felt the lines and she's like, I don't know, probably all the above emotionally. But then to have the confirmation of the parasites, we're like, oh, okay, this works.
Yeah. I mean, and that really is, and that, I mean, Arielle, you'll have to share kind of what brings you to this space, but it really is a powerful thing when you can combine body work with some of those functional labs and the emotion information that can be revealed from that body work. And then it's just kind of this beautiful tapestry of bringing in together different approaches to the whole body. Like we're a whole person and it's all interconnected. And so when I had a really awesome networking meeting this morning and we talked a lot about trauma and how when you have a trauma container or when you have a trauma as a child, you grow up with a stress or a cortisol brain, and that opens the door for things like parasites and bad bacterial overgrowth and candida overgrowth and mold toxicity and chemical imbalances, mineral imbalances, all of those things kind of, you kind of become more open to those things. And so, and Arielle, you can talk more about this because this really kind of is where you're coming into it too. But the combination of the whole like connection in the body, and then like I'm not really doing a good job of articulating holistic services, but like just really the approach that we are a whole person, and it's super important to understand that healing comes in waves. It comes at different times. Different things require different healing at different times, I think is really kind of the point I'm trying to make.
So let's go back to a couple of the Q&A questions that we have, since we've kind of explained a little bit about why parasites are in the system, how they get there, yada, yada, yada. What do you think are the top symptoms that people would potentially notice if they have parasites? I know we mentioned one of the big ones for me was brain fog, but what are the
Yeah.
other ones?
Yeah, for sure. So brain fog, fatigue, just being exhausted. If you think about it, your body recognizes that there's an invader, right? It recognizes that there's something here that's not supposed to be here. So it's trying to figure that out. And these guys are sneaky. They're really good at like hiding and darting around your immune system to survive, right? Because if your immune system is not effective enough at recognizing the threat and then doing something about the threat, then they can live for eternity in your body. And so your body is really working hard to identify and remove the threat, whatever the threat may be. And so fatigue makes sense because your body's working really hard. So brain fog, because they cross over what's called the blood-brain barrier, and they can start attacking and feeding on your brain. And so that's a huge component of, I have a client right now who's awesome and working her ass off. She's great. But she can feel like movement, parasitic movement in her brain and her neck and her forehead. And that is real. Like that is a true, real infection. That is real life. And she's been made to feel like she's crazy, and she's not. Like she has parasites. This is real. And so they can cross a blood-brain barrier, causing that brain fog. They also are so disruptive in the gut, and your gut produces 80 to 90% of your immune system, 80 to 90% of your neurotransmitters. So anxiety, depression, even bipolar, they're linking schizophrenia, dementia, MS. They are linking Alzheimer's. They're linking autism. They're linking these diagnoses to parasitic activity. And so it's crazy to think that if you do a parasite cleanse, your anxiety might go away. But that's true. It's real.
It does.
Yeah.
It's like, I know I travel a ton, so that's a legitimate reason why I have parasites. And not to like nice places like India and places I'm eating street food that maybe I shouldn't be eating street food from. But I noticed this last year, I had like a ball of anxiety in that solar plexus region right below the sternum. And I don't have anxiety. I don't have depression. I don't have these things that a Western doctor is just like, here's a pill for. But I started the parasite cleanse at the beginning of this year, and slowly have noticed, better energy, better momentum, better regulation of my nervous system. Mm-hmm. And obviously there's more to it than just removing a parasite. You have to do the other things with it, but it can really reduce some of these mental health diagnoses that doctors are so quick to just give you, here's a pill, try this, versus like exercise, diet, let's check the parasites, let's check the mineral, all of that stuff that Sarah's been talking about. And then it can also affect like the joint pain, because that's one thing that I see with my clients that have parasites. They're coming in with these joint pains, and the body work helps to clear it for a while. But my whole goal as a practitioner is to make sure that you have the ability to be like, great, I no longer need you. I just really enjoy seeing you. And so part of that is getting them on a parasite cleanse. It's making sure that we are taking care of the body fully. And that also includes the gut. Unfortunately, it's just a thing that we all have to kind of move through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, I just saw Rochelle pop in here, and I know Rochelle, she's awesome, and I'm really excited to have her in here. Anyways,
let's talk about the products, because that's usually one of the other questions that we have. Like, why do we need to use the products that are listed? Why can't we just order the, parasite cleanse off of Amazon from Dr. blah, blah, blah? I've been on it. It sucks. Let's talk about the products.
A little bit about that. Yeah.
Let's talk about the products.
We'll talk a little bit about why. Yeah. So the products that we use, do you want to pull up that slide that we have? Because I have all of them here, but I just think that the slide is probably going to be easier for everybody to kind of flow with. So there's a lot of addressing parasites is not a new concept. This is something that countries all over the world do on a regular basis. I had the complete privilege and joy of traveling to Malawi, Africa. I was in Lilongwe, which is the capital city, and then I got to kind of go all over. But they're in Malawi, they have something called Lake Malawi, and the lake, it has a very known parasite in it. It's a waterborne pathogen, and the people do their laundry in this lake, they bathe in this lake, and so they're exposed to this parasite every day of their life. So of course they're going to have parasites, and they've created a specific pharmaceutical prescription that addresses this specific parasite. And kids, like school age kids, go through cleanses, like semi-annual cleanses, where they cleanse out the parasite. It's just a normal part of life. That's just what they do. I mean, it's so normalized that it's a part of their school system and their everyday life. And so, I mean, they know it's time, because the parasite belly happens in these kiddos. You can see it. It's very, very real. And so, normalizing this is a big part of it. But parasite cleansing products, have been around for a long time. There's a lot of different formulas. There is good research out there that talks about the formulas, or the types of herbs and natural or earth-grown things that really suffocate, that attack, that kill off parasites. And so the formulas are not necessarily new. Like in the Para 2, Para 1, well, let me tell you a little bit about Cellcore. Cellcore is an incredible supplement company. They, as a functional health practitioner, one of my jobs is to really truly vet out supplement recommendations, because my clients are trusting me that I am recommending the highest quality product, so that they are not wasting their money and that they're actually getting their money's worth. And I've been on Cellcore's products since 2018, when I discovered parasites. This was my very first parasite cleanse ever, was Para 1, Para 2, and biotoxin binder. And they released Para 3, I think in 2019 or 20, and that's a game changer. Oh, Parasite 3 is a game changer. Or Para 3 is a game changer. So Cellcore's high integrity, fantastic formulations. They have patented technology on their delivery system. So this is one of the reasons why parasite supplements don't work. Or any kind of supplement doesn't really work for you, because the formulation is off, or the fillers are bad, and or the delivery system of that supplement makes it what's known as not bioavailable, meaning your body can't use it for whatever reason. And so the Cellcore products are the best on the market, hands down, no questions asked. To me, I fully have vetted this company and recommend it highly. I have clients that are on these products that have seen profound and transformational changes in their health and their vitality by using it. So Para 1 is, and this is what we use, what the recommendation is within our Parasite Cleanse group that we're starting. You only have access to these supplements by working with a Cellcore practitioner, because these supplements are not something you mess around with. You really need to be have a practitioner walk with you in the process of using these, because different things can come up, which we'll kind of talk about. But Para 1 is called Mimosa pudica seed. It's the like gummy or very sticky part of an exotic flower. And it really works as this incredible scrubber. It just kind of scrubs everything around the gut and the intestines, the small intestines, the large intestines. It just kind of is a great scrubber. And it also it suffocates the parasites that are in your gut. So it's really, really good at that. It's a great maintenance one. Even when I'm not targeting parasites in my healing journey, which I do off and on, I typically tend to stay on Para 1 just because it's a really great scrubber. It just helps bind up, not bind, but it scrubs up toxins and bad bacteria and blah, blah, blah. It's just a great scrub.
Yeah, I've
Keeps
been on the
things-
Para one for 3 months straight now.
Something
And
like that.
it feels
That's good.
great. Yeah, it feels great to just be on one. You don't have to be on everything all the time, which is
Yeah.
part of like what we'll go into as well of like what the schedule looks like. But yeah.
And then Para 2, this is more of a traditional parasite formula. So there's things like clove and hallerina bark and neem leaf. And so this formula is a very gentle parasite killing formula. And so it's designed to kind of target multiple kind of parasites. So be kind of like an all-encompassing and focuses really in on the gut. So Para 2, and usually the best way to do a parasite cleanse is to have with Cellcore. Certainly not the only parasite cleanse out there. I think it's the best, but I recognize I'm a little biased. But is to pair them together. So you can do different pairings, but typically you want to be pairing, like right now I'm currently pairing Para 1 and Para 3. And there's different reasons for doing that. And that's why you really should be working with a practitioner who really is available to you. That's the other thing. Like I talk to a lot of people who are working with practitioners and they're just not available to them when they have questions. And that really is key. So Para 2 is more of a traditional parasite product. The other thing that is also a maintenance supplement for me is the biotoxin binder. So when these guys die, they're really jerks and they really fight the eviction process, as I like to call it. They really fight back. And part of the thing that part of the reason, part of what happens when they fight back is when they die, they release all the toxic food that they've been eating. So in some ways, they have to live in synergy with us, right? Because if they don't, our immune system would recognize right away, threat, get rid of you, you're not supposed to be here. But part of the way that they live in synergy in our body is by feeding on toxins. So when they die, they release all their little toxins that they've been eating. And that turns into what we commonly hear as detox symptoms, or herxing is another term for it. So this is the best mop I have ever encountered. I've been on a lot of different binders in my time in the functional world, and I have yet to find a binder that works as well as this one. It is very gentle, and binders are really known as mops. So these guys do the killing, right? They release all their toxins. This guy comes along behind them and mops them up. So that's the core. These are the core supplements for the parasite cleanse if you're at the beginner level. If you've done something like this before, even if you've used the Cellcore products before, you might be able to jump into this parasite cleanse with at the intermediate or the advanced level. It just depends on where your body is at in the parasite kind of cleansing process. So Para 3 doesn't come into the picture until the intermediate and advanced levels, because this is where you go nuclear on these jerks. Like this is like, it's so strong and it crosses into your bloodstream, which is another key thing. You know, Arielle was talking about in the beginning about being able to kind of feel those blockages, because here's the thing, parasites get into our bloodstream and they go everywhere. And so to really truly cleanse the body of parasites, you have to have a tool that also can go everywhere. And then you work on detoxing and flushing those things out.
And if you think about the body as a whole and how things travel, yes, the blood goes everywhere. But one of the things that way back that doctors didn't understand was the fascia tissue. They just thought it was this tissue that could be cut away, whatever it does, has no purpose, right? But now they recognize that it has a purpose. It holds things together. It's a binder. And on our Eastern philosophy side, that's where the energy travels. And so parasites, they get in everywhere. And what's the perfect space for things not to be detectable is the fascia. It has no blood flow. It has no like place that you could like take a sample from unless you do a biopsy. Like you're not going to test this region. And so parasites will hang out here forever, and it covers the entire surface of all organ systems everywhere. And so that's where I get to feel it. I get to, ping over to Sara like, hey, we've already addressed all the emotional stuff. We've addressed a lot of the trauma that's going on. And my client is still feeling a little out of balance, feeling really wonky, just nothing seems to be working. And now we kind of have a systematic approach to making sure that we're getting things cleaned up.
Yeah. And I love the collaboration between us because we do very different things, and we're both healers, and we just we do healing in different ways. And so and the thing about a healing journey is that different things require different attention levels. And so like I've been working with Arielle since you opened your practice pretty much
6 years ago. Yeah. 6 years ago.
Yeah. And so we started just doing yoga, and she doesn't do yoga anymore, but I got private yoga sessions with Arielle for like 3 years.
I do private yoga, but it's very specialized now.
Yes, which is amazing. If you can sneak your way into Arielle's heart and get her to do some private yoga with you, she's awesome at it. But anyways, so it was a combination of that movement for me, as well as the foundational labs and doing the cleansing. It was a both and. It really wasn't like one was the silver bullet that cured my ails. It was a very like whole picture approach. And then we moved into, I started seeing her for Thai massage. And that was really, really powerful because I do have a trauma background, where my body was disconnected. My mind and my body were disconnected at a very young age. And I've spent my whole adult life trying to heal that connection. And Arielle has been a huge, just a very influential and important part of that healing process. And there were different times where she would be working on my body. And we know, right? We know I have parasites. It's a known thing. And there have been different times where she would feel things in my lines, my energy lines, as she's working. And she would connect the dots to emotional stuff. And I'm like, no, that's just not in my space. And it was like, oh, that's probably where some parasites are hiding. Let's really dig into that and start moving that, getting those suckers out of the fascia and like uprooting them and bringing them to the surface. And when that would happen, typically the next day I would have some detox symptoms. I would need my biotoxin binder. I would take extras of those because there was a release. And in that release, sometimes emotional stuff would come up. And it's just interconnected. So it's really, that's why I'm so excited about this collaboration that we're doing, because Arielle, you can talk more about what you're bringing, but she's going to teach us how to do digestive Thai work. It's really great.
Yeah. So I think we've covered product, right? I don't want to change subject quick before we shift.
I mean, unless anybody has a question, drop it in the chat.
Yeah. Feel free to drop it in the chat and we'll pick it up. Before I talk about like the digestive massage and a little bit about the elemental coaching that I'm going to be bringing into it, let's talk about the cleanse timeline, since it goes hand in hand with the products that they're going to use. I have it pulled up on the chart, and you can go to both of our websites, and we'll list those at the end of this call, and kind of see the presentation of kind of what I've been flowing through with you guys today. But you'll notice that there's 3 different levels, right? There's the beginner, the intermediate, and the advanced levels. And if you've never done a parasite cleanse, you're probably going to end up in that beginner level. But that's where having this individualized work with us, as well as the group container, because depending on your holistic journey, you can start a little bit higher. We just want to make sure that detox symptoms don't overwhelm your body. And so that's where we get to do this like one-on-one group work with you. And if you've done a cleanse before, I think that's one of the questions that just popped into the chat. How often should we do these cleanses? So again, it's very case by case, but I think Sara, you can give a little bit more of a, this is what I've seen works the best. And I know for me personally, I have yet to hit the advanced space. My system gets really overwhelmed. And that's where, again, having the right practitioner is key, because, you know, if you just have a practitioner who's like, it's fine, do the advanced, you'll deal with it, it's fine, you'll get over it, you'll survive. Well, heck yeah, I'll survive, but can I also work? Can I have an enjoyable like social atmosphere while I'm doing my cleanse? Is this going to sideline me for the next 2 weeks because I am so fatigued? Like, this is where we want to make sure that we're picking up your pieces and where you're at, because this isn't about income for us. We don't like, it's not about that. Like, we want to make sure this is the right move for you and the right process for you, regardless of if you're starting at the beginning, at the advanced, if you're only going to move through this once because you've already done several and you just want a new perspective, or if you're a person who really loves to have that group accountability, because I fall off the motivation all the time. And so if I have a group setting or a practitioner checking in on me, I'm going to be a heck of a lot more successful.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I'll pop that question over to you. If someone's already done a cleanse, where should they start? And what's the maintenance of going through that?
Yeah, and that's a great question. So if you've done a cleanse, it really depends on, there's a couple different factors, some individualized things. And really, it really comes down to where your body is at. And like Arielle said, you know, she hasn't gotten to quote unquote that advanced place because her system is pretty sensitive. And that is also, that's a real thing, because there is this balance between having a quality of life and doing healing work and moving forward in your healing journey. And so, and when you have chronic illness, that is such a huge component of that balance between the healing work and quality of life is vital to your success as a human. So that's a huge component. I would recommend starting with us. Like I have to say, like jump into the full moon cleanse, because we are going to offer that group support and you're going to have access to us so that we can walk with you and answer questions along the way. But if you have already done a parasite cleanse and you're wondering like, okay, what should I keep doing? Really truly, parasites are the most active during a full moon, and this is where you can and should be able to see an increase in your symptoms. So for example, we just had a full moon earlier this week, and I have an Aura ring which tracks my sleep and my heart rate, and during the full moon it kind of snuck up on me, which it does sometimes, where I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So like, why didn't I sleep? Why was I wide awake at 3:00 in the morning when I don't have that issue anymore? And like wide awake, brain starts spinning. I'm like, let's go in the day. And I was like, oh, it's a full moon. Okay. And so you adjust and I adjusted and started doing more of utilizing my tools. And this is my favorite sleep supplement, Zen Biome Sleep. So one that I recommend the most to my clients as well. But yes, full moon and insomnia is the worst, and it's real. And so I was doing a little bit of research, because I'm a little bit of a nerd like this and I like to go down the rabbit holes. And part of the reason why the greater they suspect that parasites are so active during a full moon is because of the light cycle. So the moon itself is reflecting the most surface of the moon is reflecting the sun back on us. So that impacts our circadian rhythm, and that's our wake sleep cycle. And so part of the reason why we have the insomnia or the awake between 2 and 4 in the morning is because our cortisol levels are a little bit higher and our melatonin levels are a little bit lower because of the UV light from the reflection of the sun on the moon from the moon. And so there's so many different things you can do to support healthy sleep during a full moon, one of which is those complete blackout curtains that you can't see your hand in front of your face. That's so key to balancing that wake sleep cycle. But the other, like, parasites are very, very active during a full moon. That's when they like to get it on, and they get it on hard. And so the body recognizes that something is happening that's disrupting the natural healing cycle that happens during the night. And Arielle, you can speak to this, but between 2 and 4, the liver and the small intestines, I think the small intestines too.
Liver for sure. The liver meridian dumps between 2 and 4. The gallbladder is from midnight to 2. And then I gotta double check the small intestine. I know the stomach starts at 6. So depending on what time you wake up in the middle of the night, we can also specialize the organ system that might have the most active parasites and give you an extra boost.
Yeah. Isn't that cool? East and West colliding in awesomeness. But the reason why that 2 to 4 is so key when it comes to parasites is the liver is our primary detox organ. And from 2 to 4, our body is regenerating the liver. And so it's releasing toxins. It's like it's healing itself. And so of course, that's what parasites feed on, and they gravitate towards the liver and the gallbladder, because mostly the liver, but they do live in the gallbladder. They live everywhere, but they gravitate towards the liver because it's a great source of nutrition for them. And so between 2 and 4, you're waking up. It means that, like, your body is waking you up because there's a threat. So cortisol rises, right? And cortisol and melatonin are our wake sleep cycle. Like, they live like a teeter-totter thingy. Like, when melatonin is low, cortisol is up, which means we're awake. We need cortisol. Cortisol is our friend. It gets a bad rap when it's overused and overproduced, but it's our friend. We need it to stay awake. But at night, we want it to turn down its production, and we want melatonin to come up and help us to go and stay asleep. So
and you might even notice some like mental health tics that show up higher during a full moon. So if you're a person who's waking up between that 2 and 4, the liver meridian line, that's associated with like anger. So if you've ever woke up at like your normal wake up time and you're just already angry, well, sure, you didn't get enough sleep, but there also might be some triggering stuff, like creating a weakness in the actual organ system. So not only now do you have the parasites hanging out in your organ system, you also might have some emotional baggage that's not being addressed that you might not even be aware of. I don't know how many times I have body work and like something will pop up and I'm like, I don't know where that's coming from, but then I leave and then like 3 hours later, I'm like, oh yeah, that did happen. So it's important to always address the physical component and the emotional, because as you detox those toxins that we were talking about, they're going to wreak havoc on your mental health. Like last month when I was doing the full cleanse, I wasn't on the binder because I'm a dum-dum. And out of nowhere,
we also couldn't connect. Like, our schedules were like,
I had the worst impulse control of my life. Like, I'm always a yes person, so that's not a surprise, but it was pretty amped up, like reckless choices and spending and things that I would normally have checked myself on. And so it can come from that full moon parasite, like upping its thing, because I was only on para 1 since I couldn't connect with Sara. So again, another reason to make sure that you're on those proper supplements is to make sure not only are you targeting the right stuff, you're on the right levels and you're mopping up the consequences of potentially what's going on. And so for me, it was impulse control. For others, you might find yourself in a really big depression dip, if that's where you already kind of have, or maybe the anxiety pops up extra hard, because when we're trying to rid things of the body's going to do everything possible to try to fake us out and be like, no, this doesn't feel good. You should just keep doing what you've been doing because at least you're not feeling like crap. But in reality, it's just like slowly dwindling your chi down or energy levels.
And from a Western side of things, the language or the explanation is related to a dip in serotonin and dopamine, because what parasites do is they really wreak havoc in your gut, and they steal nutrients too. And so they steal and eat the precursors to your neurotransmitters. So they'll steal the tryptophan and the tyrosine, I think is the other one, but tryptophan for sure, which is our serotonin precursor. And so that's if you don't have the fuel for those feel good like chemicals and even hormone balance, then you can dip into a state of depression or anxiety. And like I said earlier, bipolar, schizophrenia, all these different brain disorders are being linked back to parasites. It's really crazy. Not in every case, of course, but they're showing that there's a linkage there. So yeah, I mean, the one of the things about when we talk about signs and symptoms of parasites is that it's so diverse because they wreak so much havoc. And they create so much chaos in the hormones. And like I have a lot of clients that have thyroid issues, and the thyroid is the canary in the coal mine. And so if your thyroid is off, it means that there's something else going on that's causing the imbalance and causing your thyroid to go out of whack. And so digging deeper and, like, yes, you do have to address the thyroid because the thyroid is such a huge component of our feeling decent every day, energy and all of that stuff. But if all that you do is address the thyroid and you don't dig deeper and find some of the reasons why is your thyroid telling you that something's wrong? Like what's underneath that? And so parasites really, the emotional side of things, it's not always the easiest thing to connect it back to parasitic activity, but from both sides of the East and the West can identify the symptoms and tie it back to, okay, once you address these parasites, you start to see a decrease in anxiety, depression. You start to feel more vitality, which is that sense of livelihood and life in your body. So yeah, it's definitely kind of cool to see the East and the West come together.
And I think the last question that most people have is like, what comes with the cleanse? So for those of you who are on the video chat, if you have any last questions, because we want to respect your time, drop them into the chat and we'll address those before we finish up. But I'm going to put our slide up of like what you can expect to receive from us, because it's really important to understand what you're paying for and what you can hopefully achieve from, finishing a cleanse with us together. So one of the big things is making sure you have proper support, period. Mm-hmm. And so we've kind of discussed, having unlimited access to both me and Sara, but what does that look like? We can't support individually one-on-one all the time during a cleanse because that would just be a lot. So we have a group chat set up on the Tranquility Rising website. And that's where we're going to be dumping resources in where we can answer all of your questions, because if you have a question, someone else more than likely has the same question. And so it allows people to really track. And it also allows you to share, like, I'm experiencing X, Y, and Z. Anybody else experiencing this? And it creates this, like, you're not alone doing this work, which can be really helpful. Mm-hmm. The other thing that creates the container that we really love with group work, because we learn off of each other, is mm-hmm. the group calls that we will have prior to the start of our cleanse. So we'll make sure to find a time that works for the majority of you, or we'll do it in this live recording type session so you can watch it later. And then we'll also do a group call at the end of the cleanse. That way we can make sure, if you had some detox symptoms that you want to continue working on, you can jump in with Sara or myself throughout the next few weeks, leading up to our next full moon if you're ready to jump in again. From me, you're going to get that digestion video that Sara was talking about. So it's a pre-recorded digestive routine that you can do on yourself, or if you have a really generous partner and that's their love language, they can follow along and do it for you, because there's nothing better than having someone else to do the work for you than you having to do it yourself.
It's true. I pay Arielle to do this work for me because I don't want to do it myself.
And then we will also have like a easy yoga for digestion video. So these are very simple yoga postures that are going to help you continue to move, because we were talking about the fascia, right? So yoga helps activate the fascia. So if you're not local here in Cincinnati, or you're not into body work, you can still activate that same body work sensation through those different yoga postures. And that's going to help keep your system flushing and flowing on top of taking the supplements. And then from Sara, I'll let her explain what the ones that she's added to the cleanse are all about.
Yeah. So I put together a workshop. I like to call it Parasites 101. And it just goes more in depth about parasites, what they are, where we get them, what kind of symptoms come up, and what do we do about them, and kind of some of the, I guess some of the philosophy behind this cleansing and the value of it, and what to expect when you cleanse, and some of my additional like supplement recommendations. So like we didn't talk about it, but like, I mean, we did a little bit, but Zen Biome or sleep, huge support for sleep. It works wonders for me personally. It's the one that I recommend to everybody. But we also didn't talk about the bowel mover. Like parasite cleansing can sometimes create constipation. And so you need to be pooping. If you're not pooping, you're not healing. Like it's so vital. And so having supports, tools in your tool belt for when things happen. And I mean, Arielle and I are really about equipping you guys with the knowledge and information that you need to be successful on your own, because we're not going to be working together forever. Like, that's the goal. The goal is not to work together forever. The goal is to equip you with knowledge and information that you need to really keep you moving forward in your healing journey. So the Parasites 101 video is in there. I also went into detail about the supplements and kind of how you determine what level of parasite cleansing you are at. And then the really big thing about what I can bring to the table is this discount on supplements and access to the best supplements on the market. They really should pay me for being like, as much as I promote and believe in their products. So like I said, you don't have access to these supplements unless you're working with a practitioner who is a vetted practitioner for CellCore. So that's huge. And then I guess lastly, it creates an opportunity to work with Arielle or I one-on-one. So you have access to us differently than people who are just coming off the streets, so to speak.
Kind of like priority scheduling, because I personally schedule out 3 to 4 months in advance. It's a little bit hard to get in with me, but anytime that I'm working with active clients, you guys always have priority over other people who are, calling and saying, hey, can I get an appointment? Like, for sure, but we're going to book you in June already. Not Crazy. To like force the hand or anything, but it's really important for me to be available for my current clients and not take on clients that I can't support in the way that I want to support them. And I know Sara's the same way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And then I know supplements can get a little spendy, but we want to highlight the fact that when you get these supplements, they're not going to just be used for this full moon. They can last up to 3 different cleanse cycles. So when you're looking at the supplement pricing, divide it by 3, because that means you can do it this month, next month, and the following month, depending on the level of cleanse that you're on. If you're on that advanced slide, more like the 2-month mark. But if you're in that beginner, definitely 3 months. Like I've been taking Para 1 for 3 months and I'm almost out now. So it's going to go into my next full moon. So.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Okay. Doesn't look like there's any more questions in the chat. we want to thank you guys for being here live. And if you're watching this recorded, feel free to reach out if you have any more questions. And we hope to see you at the next full moon.
Yes, registration is open. We are opening it now this weekend for the April full moon. It is April 6th, I believe. It's literally the day I'm getting married, which is, you know, super fun. I'm going to have my pair 1, 2, and 3 with me that week. Arielle will be with me, so I'm sure we will have, maybe I'll pay her to do digestion work on me before the wedding. But, so the next full moon is April 6th. And we would love to have you guys join us. The cost for the full moon cleanse is $4.99, and that's access to all of this stuff in the program. And then I estimated that the supplements, my cat is making a guest appearance like she does. We estimate that the supplements are going to be about $200 off or on. Oh, Rochelle, I adore you. You're one of my favorites. You're not supposed to have favorites, but she's one of mine. She just said great stuff. Highly recommend the cleanse and these products. They are life-changing. I agree. Yeah, so we do recommend, or the supplements are going to cost around $200, depending on what you choose to, the initial supplements are a certain price, but then there's additional supplements from Cellcore to support that energy and that drainage. So, because your body's going to be working really hard during the cleanse. So we'd love to have you join us for that. We are going to do it every month. So if for some reason you've got some roadblocks for April, jump in with us in May or June. So definitely, and let us know if you have any questions. We both love to connect. We love to support in relationships. So,
and the last little piece, because of finances, right? Know that you can always break down the payments leading up to a full moon of your choice. So, if finances are tight for this upcoming one, you can still sign up and just reach out to us, and we'll put you on a payment plan, and we'll start you in, what's after April, June, May. We'll start you on the May one. But because you're in that payment plan, we'll put you in the group so you can at least get a little bit of information as we move.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
We're just here to support you, and we want to make sure that everybody has access to this type of work.
Mm-hmm.
So,
all right. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us, guys, and look forward to connecting.